Going to school in regular clothes makes kids not realize or differentiate that they are in a different and serious environment that will shape their future, right? It doesn't give them that sense that they are in an environment of discipline. Welcome to this YouTube corner. I'm Laraddiji. This is Living in Fast Express. It's a section of my channel, and without wasting much time, we'll just get right into today's topic: Nigerian versus American schooling differences. What's the difference? There are questions that need to be asked of us if we want to solve the world's problem about living in peace. The upbringing, discipline, and love we received or didn't receive when we were little kids helps to shape the future of the children we have been gifted by God. The nannies we had or didn't have, the schools we attended or never attended, the teachers who taught us or barely did, the neighbors we had, all have a positive or negative impact on our lives. So living a peaceful life might sometimes need that we take a look back while making adjustments to where we want to be in life in our future. Take, for instance, someone that had a traumatic past. To move on peacefully in his or her adult life, they might have to go back in time to resolve issues that might be underlying and affecting the person's lifestyle right now. So I took a break one day to remember where I came from, particularly the schools I attended my whole life. Examining the similarities and differences between the ones I attended in my home country and, Nigeria versus the ones I attended here in New York State. Growing up in Nigeria, the schooling system was very different from what I encountered over here. I'll talk about 5 to 6 of them that were most glaring to me. The one class versus classroom to classroom issue. In Nigeria, the system is that the students stay in one class from the beginning of the day to the end, while the teachers come to the class to teach. The teachers do the movements while the students stay put. For science and art class, though, the students are required to go to their respective labs or studios, and such, music lessons and stuff. Compared to that of the American system, where the entire student body has to move around the school campus to their respective classes. The teachers stay in one class all day, and the students walk around aimlessly in the hallway, wasting time in restrooms, talking about senseless nonsense in stairwells. I'm sure you can guess which system I despise by now. It was definitely a shock studying here in the States in the first couple of months for me. Walking in the hallways used to sicken me. Doesn't it make sense that the students move around minimally? I understand that at the end of the classroom, you can move around, for a little while still being in your classroom. And that should be it. The assembly line versus homeroom was another thing that I had to encounter here in New York. I still don't get it till today. Back home, at the beginning of a school day, let's say 8 a.m. or maybe it's 7:30 a.m. I can't remember. All the students are expected to be on the assembly line outside, unless it was raining or something, but that really happened. So as you arrive from home, you would first go to your class before 8 a.m. You have to get to school on time. Drop your bag and your books, and then when the bell rang, you'd go outside to your respective assembly line, grade by grade. The expectations for the day would be announced. Hairstyle for the week would also be called for the girls at that time. We would have to clean up the entire school compound, picking up dirt here and there, supervised by the senior students, or prefects we called it back then. Compared to the high school I attended here, by grade, there are more than a couple of hundreds, and I see why an assembly line would have made no sense, or it would have been chaotic. So that's why they had homerooms. The grade is split up into classes, and then announcements is disseminated. That was a bit of a shock, not having an assembly line at the beginning of the day before school started. It felt like school never really started daily for me, because once you're in school, classes just start. And I remember there would be a time, maybe 8 o'clock or something, and then you have to do the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the staff and all that. And that was it. And then, oh yeah, you're they do announcement at that time as well while you're already in class. So that was something different to me. Not a deal breaker, but it was different. The other thing was the lunchtime versus lunch period. So lunchtime is what we had back home in Nigeria, and lunch period is what they have here. So like I've just realized, while thinking back on my past, the number of students in schools back home were very small and almost kind of intimate in nature. So during our lunchtime, the whole school would go into the dining hall. The whole school is kind of compared to a lunch period in America, just hundreds of, maybe, I don't even think we were up to 100, maybe 150, which is like a grade in high school here. So the whole school will go into the dining hall. Teachers will eat in their hall room, for the teachers, while the senior students, we call them prefects then. I don't know if they still do that actually in Nigeria. They are the ones that supervise the dining hall, from the distributing of food to the eating and cleaning up afterwards. School prefects versus homecoming. That's another thing I had to learn coming here. Back home, school prefects were students who were noted to have high grades. They were brilliant. They were always neat and presentable. They had perfect attendance, and they were also diligent in their schoolwork. I don't know the exact qualifications to be a school prefect then. Their appointment to being prefects was to encourage, guide, and attend to the other students as role models. I remember I was a prefect that called the natural hairstyles at the end of every week. Usually it was a style of cornrows for the ladies in my school then. Everyone had to have the same hairstyle, and I was to ensure that all the female students complied to the hairstyle that was called. Here in the States, all I knew in my 3 years of attending high school here was that their culture was all about who had the most money to do what. Some students had cars, some just did fashion parade in the halls of the school. I definitely wasn't interested in this culture, and I never invested in it at all. Even if I was going to invest, who's going to give me money? I was all about my books because, that culture just kind of irritated me a little bit. At the end of the school year, they would nominate prom queen and prom king. Do I know who they were back in my high school days? Absolutely not. But then that's me. I was trained differently from home, so I wasn't used to everything here, including high school. Okay. Another topic is the discipline versus punishment topic. So let's talk about discipline. I've spoken about discipline before here on my channel. I'll link up that video, and you can also watch. I'll probably put it on the right side or on my left side. You can watch that video at the end of, this video. I'll put it in the description box below. I can only speak for my country, Nigeria. We take discipline very seriously, which usually comes in a verbal or physical form. So if you come late to school, you might be getting some strokes of the cane, on your babushka. It is expected that this form of punishment will change your behavior, and you would eventually get the message to come early to school, and coming in late will most likely get you physically hurt. For some minutes, of course. Punishment doesn't kill you, right? Americans will say, oh, it hurts psychologically. You get over it. All right? Either that or you go to jail. Now, compared to American schools, I've never been to detention before. I'm sure you can guess why. Why would I be found in detention? A Nigerian child from a disciplined family. Find myself in detention. I mean, finding myself in detention is like putting myself in punishment again on top of no. So, why would I? All that discipline from back home definitely paid off and obviously made me an obedient student, and watching some kids disrupt some of my classes here in the States was really annoying to watch. I remember being nauseated and just sick to my stomach, walking in hallways, or even thinking about walking in the hallways as I tried to get to my next class. It's funny that as I'm preparing this topic, I was listening to the news that teachers were leaving their jobs here in the States for better paying jobs, and because there was just a lot of disruptive student behavior, which was at an all-time high. Like, if I'm a teacher here in United States, and I can't instill discipline in the children that don't even have the discipline from home, like, how do you want me to teach them anything, right? So that's that. I will not go into that. If there's no discipline, which I know there was here in the States many years ago, it'll be hard to teach anybody. Nowadays, students believe they have the freedom and rights to do anything and get away with it, right? That's the freedom America has given its people. Back home, try that nonsense and you will learn by force. The other topic is the announcements versus telecom business. I think I've kind of answered that one on my own. Back home, there were only about maybe 20 students or less in one grade, in one class, whereas here they had hundreds in one grade, but separated into different classes. Mainly, there are a lot of students here in the States compared to that of the private schools in my country. That's why intercom makes sense here. Back home, we use the assembly lines for announcements first thing in the morning. And finally, the last topic is the uniform versus house clothes. This one really burns me up. I'll try not to spend too much time on this topic. This was one of the main culture shock of my transition into high school here in the States. I hope my home country will not adopt this crazy style, dressing anyhow or wearing house clothes. You can wear anything you like, to the point of sometimes some kids come into school half naked, so almost basically naked in schools. Every morning I dreaded going to the public school assigned to me. I would have to wear something from home, whereas back home my uniform was always ready. You wake up, you put on your uniform and you go. You don't even have to think about it. Here you have to think, oh my goodness, what shoe am I going to wear? What pants am I going to wear? What shirt am I going to pair with that jeans that I'm going to wear? How am I going to fix my hair? Meanwhile, back home, they already told you the hairstyle you're going to do for the week. Your uniform is already there. You don't have to think about all these things. Your sandal has to be exactly what everybody else is wearing with your white socks. So all of that, cuts down all the decision for a child, right? So I was just like everyone else, no individuality. I focus on my schoolwork, and even though it sounds real bad, I still love the system. But here, it really showed that I lacked self-esteem because I didn't like the clothes I wore. Basically because, we just came from Nigeria then, and sometimes I would have to wear my mom's clothes or shoes when I first came here. That's probably why I still don't have that my style yet. I guess that's an advantage for wearing whatever you want. Here in America, you get to figure out what your style is. But it took me a while. It's still, I'm still learning on how to style myself, but I don't waste time, I just put on something, look presentable, and get out of the house. All right. I refuse to waste any time on. I'll stop there. All right. When I first came here many months ago, I remember some students calling me big feet one time because I was wearing mommy's shoes. My parents were struggling like everyone else that time, and they didn't have a lot of money. Look at Zuckerberg today. The decision to pick out clothes at the beginning of the day is reduced because he just picks out a white shirt and a pair of jeans, and he's much more productive the rest of the day. Same thing with Steve Jobs when he was alive, right? All that money, and you ask, why are they just wearing black or white t-shirt and jeans, right? Those are smart people. That's uniform for them. That's uniform. It takes away time for nonsense, and they are much more productive than the rest of the world, right? High school students wear risque outfits to school, of course, right? They can wear anything. They play with their hair and shoes all day. They compare what they wear with what others are wearing. Back when I was in high school, phones were just starting to become famous, but boy, they still distracted the class with paper throwing and all sorts of things. If private schools here can wear uniforms, why can't public schools? I mean, let's instill discipline in these children while we can. It's for their future, right? Back home, your uniform gave you the identity of the school you attended, the school you belong to, and you had to represent your school outside the premises as well, just like your job here. I'm a nurse, I have to wear my uniform. Now I can't wear my uniform and then start robbing banks. She's from that hospital, that's what they're gonna say. She's from this, she's from that fire station, and she's from that police precinct. These are people that wear uniforms, and you know what they wear it for, right? It's not for fun. It shows who you are. Firefighters, police officers, security officers, road safety for kids, and so on. It shows who you are. And I mean, if you're going to go to school, you go to school wearing anything you want, and then you're going to the job force wearing uniform, there's going to be a clash, right? Going to school in regular clothes makes kids not realize or differentiate that they are in a different and serious environment that will shape their future, right? It doesn't give them that sense that they are in an environment of discipline. So I'm begging you, I'm imploring you, parents, please, even if your child is going to a public school, is not the end of the world. All right, you can still train them to be different and be role models for others who dare to be great in the future. I'm going to stop here on this one. If you agree with me, you can drop a comment in the section below. My question now to you is to think back to your school days, and if you had the opportunity to attend schools both in your country and here in the States, which one did you think was better? Which one would you prefer for your kids, as in the setup and the educational system in general? Which one do you think would be beneficial for the children and the students of today as a whole? So I'm going to stop right here. That's all for now, you guys. It's Laraddiji once again. I'm closing this video page. I'm a lover of peace, and I love talking about situations we might find ourselves in that needs peaceful answers. Let's stop giving ourselves high blood pressure for no reason. God willing, we are on this earth for an average of 75 to 80 years. If you live to be 100 now, God bless you. All right, let's not waste any of that precious time on things that don't help us positively in some way. You have a decision to make about living a peaceful life. The ball is in your, I'm throwing the ball to you now. Throwing the ball in your court. Thank you very much for staying with me. If you're watching for the first time, you're most especially welcome to this LinP family, living in peace, resting in peace family. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you've been inspired in any way, so you don't miss any new uploads. That's all for now, you guys. The next video is a freestyle one, and I'll be talking about my sexually transmitted miracle. You heard, my sexually transmitted miracle. Do check out my other videos. I'm hoping to read from you very soon. Don't forget to love your neighbor as yourself, like I always say, and remember to rest in peace. We all need to be living in peace. Stay blessed, and I'm back in full swing. I just hope this consistency game will be up. So I got kids. Stay blessed, you guys, and I love you.